in reading Josephine.
I'm sorry, I forgot to record. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I'm warmed up now. And you'll discover in Josephine's case, she is actually a neurodivergent Black woman, meaning that at the time they wouldn't have classified it, but she lives with autism. And I wanted to write a character living with autism in a positive way. I have not I've not read any books or seen any movies with people who live with autism portrayed in a positive way. So I really wanted to represent that. And in the present storyline, with Bern Hendricks, he was actually modeled after my younger brother, who unfortunately passed away in 2021. And I wanted to kind of, just give him a tribute and just let the world see what kind of a person that he was. And his friend Ebony is actually a friend of mine who I met in Pennsylvania, who was exactly like the person in the story. And Ebony, you guys will all want her to be your best friend, I'm telling you.
Yes, agreed, definitely. Um, can you share a little about your background and how you got involved in music as a child and how you made it into a career?
Absolutely. I've been a teacher for over 20 years. And that love of teaching and music came from when I was 9 years old. I had the opportunity to play violin in a public school music program. And I wasn't particularly interested in music per se, but when that program came around, the thing that really sucked me in was you get out of class twice a week. Oh, yes, I am in. I will do it. I am there. So I started, I wasn't a great student, so I wanted to get out of class, fifth grade, of course. So I started and it was fun and I was having a great time and I really enjoyed it. And my teacher, she was made aware by my other classroom teachers that I wasn't doing very well in school, especially my math class. And she pulled me aside and said, Brendan, if you don't get your grades up, I'm not going to allow you to continue playing violin. That's all it took. And I got my grades up. I started doing my homework. I started studying. And, it eventually led me to being able to go to college. I auditioned at a college because my high school teacher pushed me to do it. I wasn't planning on going to college at all. And she said, you need to audition and you need to, pursue music education. I didn't even know what that was. So I auditioned, I got in, I actually got a scholarship. I couldn't believe it. And that sent me to college. And it's all because of a public school music program. So in that introduction, when it's not hyperbole to say that it saved my life, I would be in prison or in jail were it not for my violin.
Thank you for sharing your story. And also, I wanted to know how you made the transition from musician educator and writer, and what is your writing process?
Ooh, I'm going to take the second part of that first. My writing process, I used to be a seat of the pants, just sit down and write. And my very first novel, which is a science fiction novel, is proof that that does not work for me. It is the best book that nobody will ever read. I'm telling you, it's a fantastic book, but you'll never read it because it's terrible, actually. So I actually started outlining. I was given really good advice to outline everything, and it's got to be part one, part two, part three. I'm going to do this today, this today, this today. It just helps keep me organized, and I look at it in terms of music. It's like an overture, an introduction, a middle section, and a finale. So it makes perfect sense to me to structure things that way, and that's kind of how I write. And the first part of that was, how did I make the transition? Summer of 2020, COVID-19 totally did it. When I was, 2020, I was actually playing in a wedding in February when we got the call that your next 3 weddings have been canceled. And that was how I paid my rent. That's how I paid my bills, everything. And the uncertainty was insane because you just didn't know, we didn't know how long it was going to last. So I was not practicing, I was not teaching, I was not going to rehearsals. I was sitting on the couch getting fatter and fatter and fatter. So I decided I need a creative outlet. And I saw an advertisement for selling books in the age of COVID. So I submitted that fantastic book that no one will ever read. And the agent who read it said to me, he sent me an email. He said, "This book is absolutely awful, but you've got a good voice and you should write what you know. And it's definitely not science fiction, but you do have a good voice." I'm like, all right, cool. So I wrote the first chapter of The Violin Conspiracy and I sent it to him. And he was like, "Is this a book?" I was like, "No, I just wrote this the other day." He's like, "This is actually good. If you write this, I can probably sell it." So I wrote every day, 2,500 to 3,000 words every day. And in 2 months, I had the book done.
Wow, that's great. I was wondering, anything in the Symphony of Secrets was inspired by any real life experiences, or any of the characters were inspired by anything in real life?
Well, Symphony of Secrets is it's an interesting mix of the themes in Symphony of Secrets. They actually are still happening today. It's people taking credit for other people's work. It's a century later, in the 21st century, it still happens. We just saw a case. Ed Sheeran was in court for the Marvin Gaye thing, and I don't know if he should have won that one or not. I'm just saying it sounded an awful lot like "let's get it on the." That's just my opinion, but it has been happening for centuries. There's artists and poets and painters and people, we will never know their names because someone else has commandeered their work. And I really wanted to give a voice to people whose voices have been silenced. And as a musician, I know that these things actually do happen. I kind of modeled the situation from a composer. Everyone's heard of the American composer George Gershwin. Gershwin was notorious he was a good composer in his own right, don't get me wrong, but he was notorious for going into Harlem, into the clubs where all the Black musicians were, and he would sit and listen and write down what he heard. And then he came up with America's greatest opera, Porgy and Bess. Gee, I wonder where all of that music came from. I'm just saying. So things like this have been happening for forever, and I just really wanted to bring it to light that people's voices need to be heard. People need recognition for their work.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Is there anything that you haven't shared yet about some of the secrets that you'd be interested to learning about that would be really surprising?
Oh, wow. With Symphony of Secrets, I'm a musician, so I don't want people who haven't read the book. I don't want you to be overwhelmed because you think it's music, 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 music being shoved down your throat. It really is not. It's really a cautionary story, and I like to equate it to a fable almost. When I said, the road to hell is paved in good intentions, I can't think of a more accurate story. It's about the choices that you make and the reasons that you make those choices, and trying to justify those reasons in your head. It makes perfect sense. I'm doing the right thing. And I could kind of see how one of the protagonists does that. I could if I were in his place, maybe I would have done the same thing. You never know. But it's really, I want people to get out of this story, just really look and listen to people, look past the attire, look past the hair, look past the accent, look past the bank account, and really, really see people. Josephine lives with autism, and she's basically invisible because, one, she's a woman. Two, she's a Black woman. Three, she's a Black woman living with autism, so she's invisible. And I just really want people to see people for who they are and what they do, as opposed to what they look like.
Very good. Thank you. Also, I know I do, and I'm sure viewers here do as well, always like to hear what authors are reading. So I was wondering if you could share some things that you've read recently, please.
Oh, wow. So I'm going to have to go back a little bit because I've been on tour for the last month. Boy, and I'm exhausted. I get to go home next week. I'm so glad that like you have no idea. I can do laundry. It's awesome. I have actually one book that I recently read that I am in love with, which is just a fantastic story, is Ozark Dogs by Eli Craner. And when I tell you, I mean, I see a couple of you are like, oh, that, yeah. Not okay, not because he's my friend. Eli is my friend. Very honest with each other, you know, when we read each other's work. I mean, and this story is amazing. It is phenomenal. And when I tell you, there are parts of this book I went as I'm reading it. And when a book can make you do that, when you're sitting by yourself, you know it's a good story. He's a great storyteller, and that's a fantastic book, and I love it.
What was it called again? Ozark.
Ozark Dogs.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. We always like to hear what authors are reading. Also, I was reading in 2025. Like you're probably working on a book that you published in 2025. Are you able to share anything about that yet?
Man, that was quick. I think I just said that one the other day. I tell you, gee, word gets around fast. Yeah. I just got another 2-book deal, which I am immensely happy about. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be, you can quote me on this. I am going to be the Stephen King of musical thrillers. You're going to see a whole Brendan Slocumb section in the bookstore. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy, another book. So everything is going to have a musical tint to it. And my next book, as soon as I get home and rested for a week or so, I'm going to start writing. And it is going to be about a cellist and witness protection.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. Yes, already interested.
I can't wait. I'm excited to write it. And yeah, that's my thing. And then I've already got the idea for the book after that one too. And I'm writing a couple of short stories for a few magazine articles. And yeah, I'm busy. Now all I need to do is go to sleep at some point.
Wow. You recently said you just went on tour for this book, and you also went on tour for the first book. How was it going on tour, like for the first book?
It was absolutely incredible because, you know, this is my second career. And, you know, I'm in my 50s. I know I look like I'm in my 60s. I know. But this is, you know, this is brand new for me. And I will be honest and say, if I were 25 years younger, I would be having the time of my life. Don't get me wrong. I am having the time of my life, but I'm tired. I've been doing this since February of 2022, and it has not stopped. I have not had a vacation. I am actually booked for book talks for The Violin Conspiracy, the book that came out in February of 2022. I'm booked through November. Actually, I got a booking today for February of 24 for The Violin Conspiracy.
Wow.
And you know, and Symphony of Secrets is just getting going, and it's nonstop, and it is amazing. I get to meet incredible people like you guys who are so amazingly supportive, and I can't tell you what that means. It just, you know, the fact that someone is enjoying the stories that I'm telling is just, I mean, it means everything. So I want to make sure that I deliver for you guys. So if at any point you're like, Brendan, this book sucks, please tell me, and I will make the changes. I will, I promise.
I don't think you were saying that, but thank you. Oh, also, so one last thing I was going to say, is there anything in either book that you didn't include that you might be interested to learn that maybe you had to cut out? But
that's a good one. What didn't I? Yeah, I have an entire section in my computer called scraps, and I could write an entire new book from my scraps pile. I don't think there's anything in Symphony of Secrets that I did not include that I wanted to, but in The Violin Conspiracy, I tell you, wait, has everybody read The Violin Conspiracy? I hope. If you haven't, it's a fantastic book. You should read it. There's an entire section where Ray had a manager named Drew, and it got to the point where Drew was taking over the story. He's a dynamic, he's from New York. He's got this thick, you know, Brooklyn accent, and he's just all up in your face, and he can play the piano like you wouldn't believe. And he was taking over the story, and I had to cut him. And I think I'm going to write a story just about him because this guy is awesome. And I'm like, why didn't I, he should have been now. But yeah, that's the only thing that I did not include that I wish I could have. But he really did take over the entire story.
Maybe he was just asking for his own story, as you said.
I think that's probably what it was. He'll get it. He'll get it.
Oh, that'd be great. Now I think at this point, I want to start opening up for people who have questions. Okay, I see Marilyn, so I'm going to unmute you.
I got it.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have several comments now that you've told us several things. First of all, you have such a delightful personality. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I wish you were my next door neighbor.
Oh, maybe I'll move in next to you. I like that.
Secondly, I thought, you spoke about Josephine having autism, but she also had synesthesia, right? Where she
Absolutely.
saw colors, and I thought that was just very, I've never met anyone who saw color, for music, but I think it would be really interesting to work with someone like that. And I'm glad to see you thought of George Gershwin, because I kept going, it's George Gershwin. This has got to be George Gershwin, but I didn't really know. But here's my question for you. If you could just devote yourself to studying one composer like Byrne does in this book, he's just consumed with this composer, who would you be studying? Who would you give up everything for to just devote yourself to?
All right, that is a good question. I've never been asked that. But before I give you my answer, with the synesthesia, yeah, that's a condition. It's a rare condition, but it actually does occur pretty. More people than you would think actually have it, and sometimes it manifests itself if you hear something, you see a color, like someone knocks on the door and it's a certain tone. Oh, that's purple. Or if a doorbell rings, oh, that's green and orange. It's an amazing thing. And it also manifests itself sometimes when people hear something, they taste certain things. If a piano plays an A, you might taste oranges or pizza. It's the craziest thing. I think it would be overload for me. I couldn't handle it. But the person that I would devote my life to, much like Byrne has devoted his life to Frederick Delaney, I think it would have to be one of my favorite composers, Antonin Dvorak. He is a Czech composer, and he spent a lot of time in America, and he was
in New York.
in New York, absolutely, and he was he had a lot of Black friends, and you can hear the influence in his music. You can hear it. And he's a very nationalistic composer. He loved his country, and everything that he wrote is just absolutely gorgeous. And I love playing Dvorak's music. I love listening to it. So it'd probably be him. Great question.
I loved him too. Well, thank you for answering my questions.
My pleasure.
Okay, next, is it Delasha? Is that your name? You can unmute yourself, please.
Hi, yes, it's Delasa Vanterpool.
Hey.
Thank you.
Yeah, Delasa. It's Dutch. Hi, nice to meet you. Yes, I have a question. How would someone like me, who is a college student studying film production along with theater acting and who has an interest in writing, could publish their own book one day?
Now, are you talking have a book published or just do it yourself?
Like publishing my book through a professional publishing company. Would I need a publicist? Like, I don't really know the ins and outs yet. I thought it would be wise to ask someone who has many books already out to basically give me the rundown, or someone who's inspired. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to give you the advice that was given to me, and I'm going to give you a bit of my own advice. Some of the best piece of advice I've ever gotten in your writing: write often, write honestly, because if you don't believe it, how can you expect anyone else to believe it? You got to believe in what it is that you're doing. Do not be afraid to take criticism and critique. If you're writing something and you're holding on to it until it's perfect, it's never going to be perfect, ever. And remember, you're not writing for yourself, you're writing for an audience. So you have to get that feedback to know what direction to go in. Don't be afraid if someone says, this is not good, you need more of this, you need less of this. Take whatever you can use, discard the rest. Never take it personally, because it's not for you, it's for the audience. And never, this is the most important piece of advice, never, ever, ever give up. Never give up. You get a stack of rejection letters this high, the very next one could be your break. I got 100 letters, 100 stacks.
Wow.
Dozens and dozens and dozens of rejections. Never, ever, ever give up. Believe in what it is that you're doing. Write honestly, write often. Let people read your stuff. There is a market for whatever it is that you're writing. You just have to find it and hone it. Never give up on that.
Thank you so much.
I
Wow.
hope it helped.
Yes, it does work. It does. I'm just gonna go and just start submitting, same with
Awesome.
filmmaking, that's how it is.
Yeah.
You take risks, you really do.
You got to do it. You only make the shots that you take.
Yes, that's true. That is definitely true. Thank you
Best
so
of luck
much.
to you. If you're writing something, send it to me. I'd be happy to read it.
Oh, you have an email? Crap. Where's my paper? Oh, oh my
It's
goodness.
real easy. It's my name, one word, Brendan Slocumb @gmail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got in early on the Gmail thing.
Brendan Slocumb. Okay, got it. @gmail.com. Thank you so much. I'm
You're welcome.
Delasa. It's the same thing. Delasa.vanterpool@gmail.com. I have a dot in
And
the
you got
middle.
in too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got in with the dot. I hear you. I see you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And next we'll ask, I see Susan Router has a question. So if you want to ask your question, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, hi. I loved
Hey.
your book, The Violin Conspiracy. I didn't read your new book yet. Years ago, one of my supervisors, we shared an office. She played the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto and Tchaikovsky on a loop all day long. I think I could conduct either of those. But a couple of things. You have a wonderful voice, and I listened to the audio book, and you were one of the narrators, right?
Right. I did the author's notes.
Right. I listen to audiobooks every day. I think they're fantastic. I really enjoyed it. So
Oh.
thank you.
Thank you.
I like what you just said. You said you only make the shots you take. I wrote that down. That's a good thing to remember. Thank you. I grew up hearing classical music at home. My father played it, whatever. How can we get more kids into listening to it, appreciating it? Classical music.
Excellent.
Where did you grow up? I'm sorry, I didn't hear. I apologize.
Oh,
Where
it's
did
okay.
you? Where did you grow up?
Actually, you can't tell because I lost my accent, but I'm actually from down south. I'm from North
Okay.
Carolina.
Mhm.
I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Okay.
When I'm tired, it comes out sometimes. But yeah, I've been in DC I live in DC now. I've been there for like 26
okay.
years, and
Mhm.
so the accent is gone. But there's a question in there. Oh yeah. So I think for me, I really think it's about exposure. It's about exposure early.
Right. Mhm.
If there's an arts council in your city, or even you talk to the principal at an elementary school, have music playing in the hallways when the kids go to the bathroom or go to class, change classes. Classical music Monday, jazz Tuesday, hip hop Wednesday, bluegrass Thursday, rock and roll Friday. They're hearing it all the time. It's a matter of exposure.
Right.
People think, well, you can't listen to classical music because that's for a certain type of people, and that is one of the most common misconceptions. And we just need to expose our kids. You never know when it could spark the next Mozart. You never know when it could spark the next Jimi Hendrix. You never know. So it really is about exposure. And I would encourage everyone, if you have kids in school or grandchildren in school,
Right.
or nephews, tell them, hey, what are you doing? What is the music program like? How can we get more involved in this? Even if you just play it over the loudspeaker during class change.
Well, I happen to have worked in a school a few years ago, a high school in the city, and they played classical music instead of ringing a bell for change of class. So it was great. I liked it. No, thank you. I just think that we have to make it available.
I
As you
agree.
said, young, and it's just whatever. Thank you. I love your writing.
Oh, thank
Thank you
you.
so much. I'm
I-
looking forward to the new book. Oh, I have one other question.
Oh,
Some authors that I especially like, they give their email address, which you did. And when they have a new book coming out in advance, they send an email out, a mass email or whatever. Do
mhm.
you do that? So that we
Um,
know
Yes.
a little before, because I heard of your violin conspiracy. It was just word of mouth.
Oh,
I didn't see it, and it was so good.
oh,
And it's still very, very popular. If you want the audio, you have to put it on hold. So I loved it. So it's just an idea, a question.
I'm going to tell my agent to do that. I'm writing, he can do the emails.
It's one mass email. You could do that.
I could, but that's what he gets paid for.
Right. No, it's just an idea that I like, because then we know in advance what's
You
coming.
know what? I'm going to take your advice.
And
on-
I apologize for interrupting. I'm just so happy to get it. I love actually having the opportunity to talk to an author.
Oh,
That's, where we can ask questions or whatever. So thank
even an
you.
author like me.
Even you, even though you're not from Brooklyn. Okay.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you.
If you want to ask your question, you're on mute. Thank you.
George Washington seemed like a slacker.
Oh.
Let me make it lower for a minute.
Everything's under control, Pierce. We're just having a little consultation.
Can I just jump in?
Well, I saw Kristen. Did you want to ask a question?
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I didn't hear my name. Hi. It's so
Hey.
nice to talk to you. I'm actually a librarian as well in a different system. And it's been so hard to get your book, The Violin Conspiracy. I just finally got to read it. But first, I just want to say thank you for writing a character with autism. I'm very excited. I haven't read Sympathy of Secrets yet, but as a autism mom, my son's been popping his head in if you've seen him come in the video. But with The Violin Conspiracy, I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but was your character the whodunit, was that always the person who was going to do it, or did you have a different ending?
I actually had 5 different endings.
5?
Wow.
5 different endings. And I chose that particular one because I felt that it would have the most impact.
Okay. It was a stunner. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so
Looking
much. I
forward to
appreciate it.
reading the rest of them.
I hope you enjoy Symphony of Secrets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, Mindy, you want to ask your question?
I have more of a comment than question, but I think Brendan knows I love The Violin Conspiracy. I listened to the audiobook. Now listening to, I don't know if you can see, Symphony of Secrets audiobook. I bought that to listen to, and I love it already. I also appreciate the autism spectrum character. And I also just wanted to share, this was in our Long Island paper this past Sunday. I don't know how much of you can see it. On one side, there's Brenda Janowitz's book,
Mhm.
Audrey Hepburn Estate, which came out, and
Mhm.
she's an author I am familiar with, and I have met her. And then I'm trying to get it on the screen. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Tangled musical.
There's an article,
Yeah.
there's an article about your book on the same,
Um,
the
What
same
paper was
paper.
that?
In Newsday.
Oh,
This
in
past Sunday.
Newsday. Wow.
I mean, I always read this page because it's the book page, but to know both of the authors that they're highlighting on this page, I was like, wait, and well deserved.
oh,
It's a very good write-up. And I was looking into getting the physical Symphony of Secrets, and it's already, difficult to get,
oh,
well deserved.
Oh.
And I just want to tell you that.
thank
So-
you so much. You just, okay, I'm not asleep anymore. I'm totally awake now. Thank you.
Okay, next, Maria, if you want to ask your question.
Hi, Brendan.
Hey,
How you doing? I just wanted, do you know, the book, that's my dad watching a funny movie, The Kingdom of Back. It's by Marie Lu. It's a young adults book. It talks about Mozart. And his sister, Maria Anna. Do you
Mhm.
know anything about, was she also like, did Wolfgang Mozart take music from his sister? That's the question. That's what it's about, the book, and it's really interesting. And I was reading that and I was thinking about your symphony, and it's like, because her writing in the book. Do you know anything about that?
I am not too familiar with
Mozart and his sister.
really his sister's work. I do
Okay.
know Mozart snatched a couple of themes from some other composers, but not from his sister. I don't think
Okay.
he would Mozart was kind of from everything that I've read about him, he was kind of stuck up. He knew he was good. So he would never have I don't think he would have taken stuff from his sister. From other people, yeah, but not from his sister. And we call that borrowing.
Yes. Well, congratulations on another great book. I
Can
love
I have one?
listen, Little Red Wine. It's good. Thank you so much for writing, and I can't wait till your third book comes out. You're amazing. I love you.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. You're so kind. I appreciate that, Maria. Thank you.
you.
Oh, you guys are so nice. I like y'all.
I'm just going to just skip around, because I know I will get to your question, but I just want to go to the people who haven't done a question yet. Oh, wait a minute. Mine is, only has 45 minutes. So where are we at right now? Okay.
41,
Okay.
Michelle.
Can we all even come back on, because I wasn't able to get on the other Zoom. So. Sorry about that. Okay. I'm sorry. The next question, I'm not sure your first name, Volpe?
Sandy Volpe, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Brendan, I
Hey,
think these Zooms are wonderful because I feel like we get to really know you. You have such a charming personality. I know your head is going to be swelling all over the place, but it's so important because you're such a wonderful writer that we look forward to hearing what your next book is going to be and to reading it. And we've all become like your biggest fans. So that's all. I didn't have a question. I just wanted to tell you that. You could move next door to me too.
oh, awesome. Thank
my
you.
favorite.
That's so incredibly kind. I mean, I know you can't tell, but I'm actually blushing under here. I'm sorry. That's so kind of you to say. Thank you. That means everything. Thank you very much.
It's true.
Oh.
Okay, Marlene, so I'll go to your question next. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Brendan.
Hey, Marlene.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I'm going to add on to what people were saying about what a nice person you are. And what I was thinking was that's part of what made me finish Violin Conspiracy. When I went to see you in person, I had only read half the book. I did plan to finish the book, but as soon as I left that appearance at An Unlikely Story, I went home, and by the next day I had finished the book.
Oh.
So what I want to say is you're, in addition to your knowledge of music and your love of music, which comes through in your appearances and in your book, I'm not necessarily a musician interested in musicians, but I think you also put your interest in the characters in your book. And so for someone like me, and I think for many readers, the interest in the characters is what will draw a reader in, and it's what drew me in.
Oh,
And I know that will, I encourage you to continue you say you're booked out. Don't get tired of it, because I think it just adds to the number of new readers you'll get. If someone thinks, oh, I don't know about music, I'm not really a musician. The minute they listen to you, Brendan,
oh,
they'll want to read your book. And I also want to say about Violent Conspiracy, I wanted to know how everyone's life got resolved. And for me, that's the big draw in a book. If I'm not interested in the characters, I really don't care if I finish. But keep going. A
oh,
pleasure to meet you, a pleasure to read your books, and I'm looking forward to more.
thank you. It's nice to see you again. Thank you. I
All
hope
the M's are here.
that. Thank you. And I can just answer that everybody's life was resolved. The family didn't get any more money after that whole thing. And the whole, for those of who haven't read it, all I can say is the GoFundMe thing was totally resolved. It was 100% resolved. And then I think everything else pretty much is self-explanatory in the story. I just don't want to ruin it for those who
Right,
have.
but you did a lot of good weaving there in getting things resolved.
Yeah.
And I know for someone like me, and I think a lot of the readers that I do know who are on here tonight, I don't know everyone on here, but that's something that keeps people going and not only want to finish the book, but want to talk about it.
That's good to know. I will keep it character oriented. All my characters drive the story. So I want these characters to be, I want a response from I want an emotion elicited. You don't have to love them, but you will either love them or you'll hate them, as long as there is a visceral response to each character. That's what I want.
Which type of character is hardest for you to write?
Sorry, I just wanted to say one thing. By mistake, I used my personal account, which has 45 minutes. Is everyone able to log on when it logs off, like in a minute or two, and go back on the same link? I'm really sorry about that. So I was just wondering about everyone to be able to do that. I'm sorry about that. Just so I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to make sure everyone knows about that. So I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, Marley. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that.
All good, all good. And if you want to add any characters to your books, either name Marlene or Mindy or Maria, Meredith, there's plenty of M's to go around.
Done and done. Done. I got it.
Okay, and Marilyn, you had another question?
Oh, I left out Marilyn. Don't forget Marilyn.
And Michelle, of course. I didn't say Michelle.
And Michelle.
Well, if we go off, but you can be thinking about the question that when you log back in, but I want to know about all that pizza. And I'm only now look, I'm not even quite halfway into the Symphony of Secrets. I haven't gotten to all this, intrigue with they're going to do whatever it takes. I haven't gotten that far yet, but there's lots of pizza. Did you go to all those pizza places? And who went with you? That's what I want to know.
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
I don't think there's anything better on the planet than New York City pizza. It does not get any better. So I wanted to highlight that because you can bond over pizza because it's so good in so many different ways. I have not been to all of those places, and unfortunately I can't eat it all now because I am vegan. So I can just look at it and wish that I could eat it. But the ones that I have had, I know exactly how good they were. So yeah, I wish I could eat it all. I wish I could go to every single pizza spot, but I'm always looking for a good vegan pizza spot. So if anybody knows one, send them my way.
Okay, I think I had one or two questions in the chat. One question I had, let me go back from Judy. Judy said, oh, asked if you have been performing in New York or elsewhere, or has the writing taken over your musical career, and that you love the Violin Conspiracy and all people are just Symphony of Secrets.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's a good problem to have. I have not been able to practice my violin very much at all anymore, just because I'm always on the road or I'm writing. And my lessons have been suffering as well. I teach 10 students and they haven't seen me for a month because, you know, I've been on the road, and I see them not next week, but the week after. And I'm expecting them to be phenomenal players because they've had so much time to practice. But it is a problem. And I gotta say, you know, I am a musician first. I think I'm a much better musician than I am a writer. So I miss playing. I miss being able to play. I miss playing in a group with my friends. You know, I can't do that anymore because I'm always gone. So every opportunity I get to play with my friends, or if I can sit in on a rehearsal, I will take that opportunity because, you know, violin is the whole reason that I'm here right now. And yeah, I do miss it. I wish I could play more, but right, as soon as I find that balance, I'll make it work. But right now I'm still trying to work it out. So I'm not doing as much playing as I'd like to.
Okay, sorry about that. Marlene, did you say you had another question?
Oh,
I don't know that I answered you about that. Okay. Mhm.
Oh, you guys are the nicest people. I like y'all.
Oh, we like you too. Thank you. Sarah.
Always, I've always got another question if you need another one.
I was just gonna say there was a question in the chat. Sarah had asked if you have any new additions to your comic collection.
Oh, yes.
And you like comics, so.
Oh my God. Yeah, I am a comic book fanatic. I actually, every city that I go to, one of the first things that I do is first I look for a vegan place to eat. And next I look for the local comic book store. And I totally found one when I was in Boston, and it was great. And I haven't finished reading them all yet. And they're in my suitcase. And I am in Dayton, Ohio right now. And as soon as we are done here, I'm looking at the restaurant across my hotel, and I think they have a vegan menu. And then I'm going to look up the local comic book store. And I bought a couple of new statues and I can't wait. And Comic-Con San Diego is on my list. As soon as I get a chance to break away for a vacation, it's totally going to happen. But yeah, I actually bought a new statue. I bought a one of the X-Men. I got an X-Men statue the other day, and I haven't been able to look at it because I've been gone for 2 weeks. And it's still in the box, sitting in my office. And as soon as I get back, I can put it on display. But yes, I'm always on the hunt for good comic stuff. Always.
Thank you. And Marilyn, so if you want to ask the final question, we'll do that, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, this is a serious question, kind of a down question. But in your book, you know, The Symphony of Secrets, in referring to Josephine, you know, you use some pretty, you know, you use the word coon, which I'm from the South, so that, you know, a common term here. I'm from Arkansas, by the way. So
Hey, you know Eli Craner, yeah.
I don't know him, but I know of him. So anyway, so yeah, so how hard was that? I mean, how hard is that to write derogatory terminology about someone, especially a character that's such a vulnerable character?
That's a great question. And it is often a subject of discussion with my editorial people. Sometimes, and I did it on purpose because I like history, and I'm a firm believer in you can't whitewash history, and we have got to be able to acknowledge that there were some messed up things that happened in our history. You know, America is a very young country, and there are lots of mistakes that were made, and you know we're trying to remedy those, but you can't fix anything until the acknowledgement is made. You have to acknowledge this is how it was, and in 1920, that's how it was. Black people couldn't go into certain places. If there was a mixed race couple, they might get beat to death. You never, this is how it was. So I did not want to shy away from the ugly part of history. And, I did that same thing in the Violin Conspiracy. It was very difficult for a lot of people to read. And, I applaud those who got through it. It's just, I'm a firm believer in accuracy. And the reason for that is because I feel like with this acknowledgement and people saying, yes, this is how it was. Yes, that was terrible. No, we never want to go back there. You got to acknowledge it before you can heal from it. And I just wanted to make it as accurate as possible, just as a reminder. Yeah, we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go.
I applaud you.
Oh, thanks. I applaud you for reading it.
May I add something to that, Michelle?
Sure. Mhm.
I'm going to repeat something I told Brendan last week. I think what allows you to do that and help educate people is that your talent creates a story that lets people know what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. And that's a talent that I feel not all authors have. And so when the reader knows what it's like to be afraid, to feel fear, to get beaten up, you're teaching something. And I applaud you to keep doing that, because until everyone knows what it's like to be in someone else's shoes, it's really hard to change things. So you definitely have a cheerleading team here, and you just keep at it.
See, Marlene, I remember when you said that to me, I actually did tear up, and I'm trying really hard not to do that now. And that, thank you. All right. Okay. That's enough of that. Thank you.
Okay, Brenda, I want to thank you so much. Everything you said is so interesting and so informative, and I really enjoyed hearing you speak. And you're also a lot of fun. And thank you again. And I'm sure everyone else felt the same way. And I thank you everyone for attending tonight. And just wanted to let everyone know next month we have another virtual author visit with Shelley Reed. She's a debut author who wrote Go Ask a River. It's going to be on Thursday, June 15th at 7 p.m. And again, thank you, Brandon. Thank you everyone for attending. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Thanks again.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Michelle and Brendan.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thanks,
Thank
Brendan.
you. Bye.
Take care.
Everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Take care.